By our current leadership standards in churches in the West, Jesus' own disciples might not have even been considered adequately prepared for leadership. And even some in Jesus' time had trouble with who he considered qualified to lead. In Acts 4, as the two apostles, Peter and John, were boldly speaking to the crowds before them, people were astonished, knowing they weren't trained in a way that qualified them to do so. The more qualified people in the crowd questioned where the power behind their words even came from. Finally, they realized it was less about their education and more about the company that they had been keeping. Acts 4:13 said they recognized that these men had been with Jesus. Jesus chose ordinary people to become his followers and eventually start the church, which primarily was taking place in homes. Here are some names of men and women in the Bible that had churches in their houses: Apphia, Archippus, Lydia, Nympha, Priscilla and Aquila, and Philemon. One thing we're noticing today in other parts of the world is that ordinary people are sharing about Jesus as soon as they decide to follow him. And taxi cab drivers, school teachers, and former drug dealers that are devoted to Jesus and his word and are filled with the power of the Spirit are leading networks of rapidly growing house churches. It seems that some of the qualifications that we put on leaders of churches, from having to have PhDs in seminaries to having to have charismatic personalities to lead the masses, simply weren't the qualifications in the early church. And they aren't the qualifications in much of the church outside the West today. There are definitely reasons you should pause before leading a house church. Some of these might include anger and wounding at the church that's not been dealt with or healed, lack of support from fellow believers and mentors, being stuck in a pattern of sin. People that will do well leading a house church are typically Christ followers that have been with Jesus for some time, who are generally spiritually and emotionally healthy, and who are already making disciples, who are ready to be on a Spirit-led adventure for at least 2 years. They don't start alone, but with a few other passionate followers of Jesus who are humble, dependable, and ready to share in the leadership.